Got 'em? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me? How does the microphone work? I don't know how to do that. Okay, we're going to do a couple of chants to get this party started. Okay, you guys on? Okay, you're on board. So it's going to start out. I've never done this chant before. Okay, so it's going to start out. Tricky John, you can't hide. We can see your dirty side. All right, you guys ready? Tricky John, you can't hide. We can see your dirty side. Woo! Okay, one more time. That was good. All right. Tricky John, you can't hide. We can see your dirty side. All right, that's pretty good. And then, this is a good one. It goes, who cut Medicaid? James did. Right? So I'll do who cut Medicaid, and you guys answer back, James did. Ready? Yeah. Who cut Medicaid? James did. Who cut Medicaid? James did. Who cut Medicaid? James did. That's short, right? Okay, we got another one. James, shame on you. We're all going to do this together. Ready? 1, 2, 3. James, shame on you. One more time. James, shame on you. One more time. James, shame on you. One more time. James, shame on you. That's right. Okay. Let's see. Oh my God, this is a good one. Okay. So it says, grow a spine, hold the line. Hold the line. Grow a spine, hold the line. Grow a spine, hold the line. Grow a spine, hold the line. Hey. Give us all the right one. I don't have a microphone. All right. Anyone know where the microphone is? Yeah, that man had. He took it away. That other man took it away. Okay. Layla, while we're waiting, can you let him in? Sure, thank you. All right. I guess I'll use my teacher voice until I can get a mic, because we got to start on time, y'all. But y'all, give it up for being here tonight. Let's go. Woo! I'm Jill Murphy. I am a CD10 constituent and a Michigan organizer with the Friends of Bernie Sanders campaign. And I am here. Woo! Yeah! We're here because this lovely Waldo gentleman, Rep. John James, is not here for his constituents. We have been asking for him to do town hall meetings. We have been asking him to meet with us. But instead, what do? They keep us in the dark. Their silence is not okay. They send shallow emails, or even worse, they called the cops. Right. They called the cops on some constituents who were requesting a meeting. Are those gals here? Yeah! So just a little bit about myself. As a neurodivergent, I struggle with Medicaid. As someone who is struggling with perimenopause and endometriosis, I am extremely concerned about the Medicaid cuts that John James is talking about supporting. Who here is also concerned about their Medicaid, Social Security, all of the cuts that are coming? Yeah. That ain't right. It is not right. So what I want us to think about is we're here to hold John James accountable
and because the billionaire class continually tries to sell Michigan out. Like I've said, we have done all the things to meet with John James and have conversation and actually work with us. But he refuses because he cares about his money lining his pocket. And that is not at all what our electeds do. When we vote for them, they work for us. So I am grateful to see the wave of people here in CD10. I have lived in Macomb on and off for 4 years, and seeing the involvement is getting me fired up and giving me hope. And it's not going to be able to, we wouldn't be able to do that unless it was without you and y'all here, as well as Katrina Mandetta and Kelly White, who are co-chairs of Macomb Defenders Rising Indivisible. Give it up for them, first of all. They give me that hope and that reassurance that we can flip Macomb County to blue and represent us and represent people. So again, I want to thank you for all being here tonight. We have a lot of powerful speakers ranging from community members up to our special guest, Rashida Tlaib. We also will be talking, thank you, This event is sponsored by Macomb Defenders Rising, but also co-sponsored by Fund My Future, Michigan Families for Fair Care, oh my gosh, I have the list. Friends of Bernie Sanders, myself, Mothering Justice, Sierra Club, Detroit Action, and Michigan Student Action. If you weren't able to meet them, yes, give those words a round of applause. Thank you. If you weren't able to meet them, please make sure to connect with them out in the lobby because the work that is being done in CD10 is going to be phenomenal and we are going to have tangible wins. But before we actually get this movement started or the night started, we have a special guest tonight before Rashida Tlaib, someone that I am extremely grateful to be part of their team, but I would like to introduce you to Senator Bernie Sanders to give us a little bit of Sorry, y'all, it's been a heck of a doozy day. Okay.
I want to thank so very much and the organizers of the event. I want to thank Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, who is one of the outstanding progressive members of Congress, does a great job for Michigan and for working families all over the country. And thank all of you for coming out this evening for what amounts to a very important meeting. I don't have to tell anybody that we are living in a precedent moment in American history. We today, under Trump, have a government of the billionaire class, by the billionaire class, for the billionaire class. Trump is moving this country very rapidly toward an authoritarian form of the crime of having lawyers represent clients to oppose Trump and his policy. All of that is unprecedented. And then on top of all of that, we now have a government which is trying to dismember and dismantle Social Security, the Veterans Administration, and many other important agencies that work for the working class of this country. And then on top of all of that, Trump and the Republican leadership, as I think all of you know, are working on what is called the reconciliation. I'm sure Rashida will get into it at some length. But bottom line is this is a proposal which will come up, we think, shortly. We don't know exactly, in a few weeks, in a month. And what it will do is is fulfill Trump's dream of a quote-unquote big, beautiful bill. You've heard of that. And what this big, beautiful bill is about is giving over $1 trillion to the top 1%, to Elon Musk and the other billionaires. Then, in order to pay for that $1.1 trillion giveaway to the rich, what he wants to do is make an $880 billion cut to Medicaid. Now, I don't have to tell anybody in the room tonight that our healthcare system is already broken and dysfunctional. To cut Medicaid by $880 billion would be to throw millions of kids off the healthcare that they had, make it harder for your parents to get into a nursing home, make it harder for community health centers to provide primary health care, harder for hospitals to do their work. It would be a disaster for this country. So you have a member of Congress, Mr. James, and he's going to have to make a very simple choice in the next few weeks or months, and that is whether he sides and represents the ordinary people of his district, or whether he's going to side with the wealthiest people in this country. And I know that Rashida is there. She's going to help me to fight it. This is there. No, and you come up by cutting programs for people who desperately need those programs: healthcare, nutrition, education. So I thank all of you for coming out, because at the end of the day, while the oligarchs certainly have unlimited amounts of money, they have enormous power over the media, they have enormous power over the political process. At the end of the day, they are 1% of the population. Last I heard, 99% is a hell of a lot number than 1%. So if we stand together, if we don't allow them to divide us by the color of our skin, or where we were born, or our religion, or our sexual orientation, or whatever, if we stand together and fight for an economy and a government that represents all of us and not just the 1%, we will not only defeat this reconciliation bill, but will create a government and economy that we can be proud of. So once again, thank you all very much for coming out. Look forward to returning to Michigan in the not too distant future. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, Senator Sanders, for being with us in Michigan tonight. Good evening, and thank you so much for giving of your time and being here tonight. My name is Kristen Kroll. I'm the director of a national organization called Fair Share America. And we have one singular focus, and that is to stop another round of devastating tax cuts that will decimate our communities, take things away from our families, our neighbors, veterans, seniors, children, women, the disabled, all at the expense of lining the pockets of billionaires to do what? Another yacht? Another jet? We say no. And it's a privilege. I get the privilege of going all over the country to talk about what's at stake and to make sure that you, the citizens, and we, the American public, have a say in this bill. And too many times, what happens in Washington behind closed doors, we never get a say. Deals are cut by the funders, by the investors, by the political operatives and the elites at all of our expense, and we are out all over the country challenging conventional wisdom that just because the GOP has a trifecta does not mean they get to ram this bill through. And so places like where we are tonight are massively important, because even though they have the trifecta, the GOP has the trifecta, they're struggling to get the vote. And I'm serious. The movement that is being created all over the country is having an impact. The reason this person isn't here tonight is because they're terrified that they are going to have to vote with their minders instead of their constituents. He's a coward. He is a coward. He is a coward. I want to tell you a little bit about who I am and why I'm here. And then tonight, we're going to give you a chance to both ask questions of Congresswoman Tlaib. We're going to hear stories of how this impacts our neighbors and our community. And we're going to do a call to action of how we can continue to use our voice in this fight. One thing that Fair Share America has been doing, and especially here in Michigan 10, we've been out knocking on doors because it's really important that real information, not disinformation, not the bullshit on the internet, gets into our constituents' hands. Because the lies that were told during the campaign are the lies they're telling now. And if we tell the truth and we educate each other, even those of us who might politically not be always aligned, 80% of us, regardless if you're a Republican or a Democrat, 80% of us do not want another tax cut at the expense of our communities for the billionaires. 80%. There are more of us than there are of them, and they know that damn straight, and that's why they won't come and meet with us. On your chairs tonight, there are a couple of things that are really important that we want to share with you. One, what happens if this budget is enacted? What happens to Michigan? What happens to our community? These are facts that you can share with your neighbors and friends. These are the real consequences of politics gone awry, of being hijacked by Elon Musk and his billionaire friends. Okay? So in this district alone, in this corner of Michigan, over 180,000, which is an unfathomable number, of people will lose access to health care. 180,000. Many of you, I'm guessing, are here tonight because this is personal to you. They picked a personal fight with us. And it is our personal stories and our courageous actions and us, again, talking to people in our grocery stores, in our churches, in our Lions Club meetings to help educate and tell the truth about what's at stake. Fair Share America is a nonpartisan organization because we believe right now this demands a different kind of politics, that we have to do better than being divided into partisan camps. This bill can and should be defeated, but only if we do the hard work of the organization. Mm-hmm. I come to this work, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what's personal to me and why this fight is personal to me. I got into organizing, community organizing, 27 years ago as a single-poor mom who was fighting budget cuts at my kids' school. I don't hold this against me, but I'm a Wisconsinite, so I'm just across the slate. I didn't bring any cheese. I don't want to start a fight. But the Lions were way better this year than the Packers, so, I will leave it at that. I know. We'll see. But my family relied on Social Security. My dad died when I was 9. He committed suicide. My mom, and I don't say this for pity, these are just facts. This is what happens to families living real lives. My mom was left to raise 3 of us on Social Security, and that allowed us to stay in our home, that allowed us to stay in our school. And as I got older, I was a young mom, I was a young single mom. I started fighting the school budget cuts in my schools, kids' schools in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Milwaukee Public Schools. And I also was struggling. 20 years ago, a bunch of really bad policy decisions and a recession and medical debt, I won't ever forget this, an $886 medical bill for one of my kids started a domino effect of how do you pay the bills, and then the lights got turned off, and then I lost my home. These are choices that our representatives in Washington are making right now. Will they be on our side? Will they make sure to fund the things that keep our families whole, like basics, education, health care? Are we going to take care of our veterans, our seniors, our low-income neighbors? Or are we going to give another handout to rich people who can't even spend their money in this lifetime. I can't even understand what $1 trillion even means. When you're making a choice to enrich those folks at the expense of the 180,000 in just this district. So imagine the country. I'm also here to tell you that there's hope. Hope is, and it's not a lie, the movement that is happening all across the country is having an impact. It is forcing these guys into hiding. The last vote that came before the House floor, which was just under 2 weeks ago, the Republicans passed a budget, it's part of the process, but they only had 2 votes to spare. That's not many votes in a Congress of 435 representatives. You are in a precious, precious district because of the sheer we need to topple 1 or 2 or 3, and we can't stop this. It is not a done deal, and don't let anyone else tell you it is a done deal. We can stop this. We can stop this. So, it is my big privilege to be here tonight. Fair Share in America has knocked 17,000 doors just in this community over the last 2 weeks. We are so thrilled to partner with the Macomb Defenders Rising, with Fund My Michigan. And we're so thrilled to unite all of us through our common stories, through our common anger, because it is righteous and it is valid. And we are united and working together to make sure that day in and day out, you have the information that is going on behind closed doors in Washington, D.C., so that we can do smart, strategic advocacy on the ground. This is a recess week. They are no doubt watching what is going on in their districts. They are watching. They knew this meeting was happening, so they're watching. How many are here tonight? Well, 500 are here, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to ask you one more thing to do before I hand it over to our next speaker. On your chair, there's a pledge card. Please fill this out. There's going to be an organizing effort to deliver these postcards, again, to send a message. We aren't paid protesters, ladies and gentlemen. We are from the community. And we are here to lift our voices and make sure that the American public, that Michiganders, that you, the citizens, have a voice in this fight. I'm so grateful for everything that is happening here, so grateful to be in this fight with you all, and now excited to turn it over to Katrina.
Oh my God! This turnout is incredible. We have 500 people here, like Christian said. How's your night going so far? Awesome. So my name is Katrina Mineta, and I am the proud co-chair of Macomb Defenders Rising. Where's our members? Let me see some of our members. Amazing. So we are one of the newly formed indivisible groups in Macomb County, and we have grown to just over 500 members in the last 13 weeks. We are outraged by what's happening in our country and the assault on our democracy, and that is why we've decided to act. In those 13 weeks, we visited John James' office, and we got the police called on us. Some troublemakers out there. We visited Gary Peters' office. We helped organize a Medicaid press conference where 60 people showed up. We organized the Where's John James protest where we had 300 attendees. And we helped organize the April 5th Hands Off protest in Detroit for over 6,000 attendees. And now we're hosting this town hall. We will fight hard for our community, and we will do everything in our power to stop the cuts to Medicaid, SNAP, and to protect the families and individuals in Macomb County. We've invited John James, as the rest of our speakers have said, to be here. But where is he? Exactly. He has a reputation for not showing up for his constituents, so we didn't expect him to show up. So we came prepared. And we are honored to have a special guest with us tonight to inform you about what's actually happening in Congress and to answer your questions. Representative Rashida Tlaib spent 6 years in the Michigan legislature, and she's in her 7th year in Congress. She is the most proud to have grown up in a working-class family in Southwest Detroit. She is the eldest of 14 and the proud mom of 2 boys. Representative Tlaib is one of only 69 members of Congress who does not take corporate PAC money. Exactly. And she is guided by the belief that everyone, not just the wealthy and privileged, deserves access to opportunity and a better quality of life. Rashida Tlaib has dedicated her life to amplifying and addressing the concerns of everyday people in her district across Michigan and around the country. And so I have for you Representative Tlaib.
Now, you all are amazing. You know, fighting fascism takes 24/7, and it comes together, resistance, it builds courage and inspires again this moment right now that we will not stand still and be paralyzed with the amount of fear and anxiety that many of you have. You're showing up, you're fighting back, and you're saying to the person that you elected or was elected for your community, again, you should show up. You have questions to be able, that need answers. And so I'm really proud. When I met Katrina, we were just in, I saw that there was a protest in front of Congressman John James' district office, and I just showed up. I didn't tell everybody I was coming because I needed to do it too. Because there's 3 or 4 Republicans that we need. Only 3 or 4. And if Michigan could do something, we can organize our backyard to deliver at least one. And that could be Congressman John James. So thank you all again for your incredible work. In the 12th Congressional District, one of the things we did yesterday, we had a Resist Together town hall and training because folks are showing up and I want you all to be equipped, right? But also to understand what the real impact is of $880 billion cut to your community. So I'm going to show you, again in numbers, but behind every number is a parent with a child that relies on Medicaid, is a mother who relies on prenatal and postpartum care, all of that. It is a person that relies on long-term care to be covered by Medicaid. So just remember with these numbers. So it is important to understand, again, what the impact is in the 10th Congressional District. So we know that tens of millions of Americans, you should know as a founder of the Congressional Mamas Caucus, over 40% of births around the country depend on Medicaid. Yes. But I want you to see this. This is your congressional district. This is your backyard. Look how many individuals, 23% of Congressman John James' district relies on Medicaid. 23%. 69,000 of them are children, including 17,000 children who have disabilities or living with disabilities. Yep, exactly. And as a person that is a mom with an autistic child, I know how important it is for the wraparound programs and services. And let's be honest, Medicaid is that Band-Aid to sick care in our country. We don't have health care, we have sick care. It's driven by profit. And one thing that Medicaid has done, though, because it's not a choice, it's a life-saving tool that has provided care for our families. 2,800 births per year in the congressional district. Again, that depends on the postnatal, prenatal. And we're just finishing up Black Maternal Health Week. Again, Michigan is one of the worst in the country when it comes to Black maternal health. 17,000 seniors, including over 1,000, receive care through Medicaid, long-term care. Next slide. I want you to know, again, about 2022, again, these numbers might not be fully updated, but I want you to see,
Now, you see this number, you're like, wow, but that's your money. No. This is your money. Don't let them think that it's something that, this is the bare minimum what they can do while they have big pharma and the health industry, again, being driven by profit. Right. We're subsidizing that with this care. It is important for you, again, to see, again, what the importance here of is that we're covering. This is something that would devastate a family. I've seen it. I've seen the people on private health care have to put a mortgage on their home or file bankruptcy because of medical debt. Next slide. Again, this is important for you to know that in the 10th Congressional District, 55,000 adults gained coverage through the expansion. Again, how many of you are on Affordable Care Act? The budget proposal, I am too. I know I'm not one of the billionaires that is in Congress. But one of the things to know is the data shows that it will be a 50%, 40 to 50% increase, Affordable Care Act. That's about $630 per year addition of what you already pay. With the $880 million that they're putting in there. Again, that's nearly $1 trillion. Again, it's really important. Next one. And I know Medicaid, what's important, again, for the economy and for you all to see, this is important, but hospitals, clinics, pharmacies, other here in the district among areas that are the largest employers that have deep economic ties to Medicaid. That's why you see Corwell and others. Now, again, they need to be checked too. I'm going to be on record of that. No, they do, because they have shareholders. Hospitals have shareholders now. Even though I have 501c3 status. Again, you have sick care in our country, not health care. So Medicaid is critical for the 10th Congressional District. So I want to talk about this a little bit, and this is something I talked to my residents yesterday. We had over 400 people show up to our town hall, and one of the things that I explained to folks is you're going to hear a lot of my colleagues say that the $880 billion. I had one colleague literally put it up and go, the word Medicaid is not in the proposal. Oh my God. He's gaslighting all of you, compared to people. Yeah, it's not in there. It's true. But Energy and Commerce Committee oversees Medicare, Medicaid, Affordable Care Act. That's where it is. There's no way you're going to cut nearly $1 trillion without touching Medicaid. There's no way. Know that Protect Our Care, national organization that is fighting on this front, is spending $10 million just on educational ads, showing people. There's a colleague in California, a Republican colleague, 62% of his constituents rely on Medicaid. So this is something that's nonpartisan. This impacts all of us, no matter your political affiliation. Next slide. Now, this is important. Why are they doing this? Other than it's cool. They're doing this because they want to do $4.5 trillion, not millions, not billions, trillions dollars in tax. It's in there. Not made up. I mean, this is congressional budget. Everybody will show you. It's in there. Next slide. Next slide. Well, they all know that. So I want to show you all that. I want to show you all this because this is why. I just want you to see this. Look at this. So this is the Trump tax plan from before, the proposal from before. This is what they want to expand on. This is currently, look at this. They pay nothing. No, how many of you all pay federal tax? Well, really, how many? All of us. We pay some sort of it. They pay no federal income tax. None of these folks. While DT increases our rates. You know? Yeah, I know. Next slide. It keeps going, y'all. It doesn't stop. 25 corporations, states, I hate the word state labor, we gotta talk. $67 billion from, look at this. These folks benefited. Yes. I know that he doesn't. I actually said that when he did a joint address. So next slide, I want folks to see. So what can you do? Before we go into this, I think it's really important to know that many of my colleagues, Republican, even Democrats, it's very hard sometimes for them to be fully frank with everyone about the fact that, again, you're talking about healthcare, you're talking about Department of Education, you're talking about, today I just was at Earth Day with EPA workers and everyone, is sometimes you're going to see folks say, oh, they're not cutting that, but they're cutting the federal workforce that runs the program. So pay attention to that.
They may not, oh, we're not touching Social Security, but then they're cutting 50% of the Social Security Administration staff. So when you call, it's delayed. For instance, VA, I have the John Dingell VA, where a lot of John Dingell VA hospital, and many of my folks go to that hospital specifically. And I can tell you, I have a gentleman, a veteran, outpatient surgery, outpatient care. They called him because they got rid of all the surgical tech folks. He's waiting another 3 months before he can come. It's not like people can stop being sick. It's not like people can stop, again, whatever the issues and challenges they have. And again, these are promises we made to our constituents that we would have their back. And this is our money. Like, I hate that we don't see it that way, but it is ours. If there's anything that I think the American people want us to support, is making sure, again, nobody plans to get sick. Nobody plans to have a disability. Nobody plans to come from serving our country with, exposure to toxins. Nobody plans any of that. But they come back and we make a promise that we take care of each other. And again, this is, them breaking that promise. What can you do? There's a lot you can do. One, you showed up. Thank you for that. This is overwhelming because it's hard to believe it's only been, 12, 13 weeks of this. I know. It's so hard to believe, but this is a lot in 13 weeks. But one thing we know is we need 3 to 4 Republicans. What can we do? We can organize our backyard. That's why I'm here. I said, if there's one thing Michigan can do, is get one of the Republicans to create that wall that is needed. The hope that I have is in the Senate, when that budget proposal passed out of the House, and it went to the Senate. Again, one of the Missouri senators, who I don't even I was surprised he was doing it. He's from Missouri, and he introduced an amendment. Almost, I know, Jeff, I try not to put their name out there. So, because he did say something else. So one of the things to know is, even when he offered that, I was like, this is great. We're gonna be able to take this in the Senate. And they almost got there. I think we lost that amendment, and it was like a hands-off Medicaid. Don't touch Medicaid. It was a beautiful amendment, y'all. And in there, again, it was to protect Medicaid, and we did almost get there. I think Susan Collins and some other folks supported it. And unfortunately, I think we were 1 or 2 votes difference, too, away from making that happen. So then it comes back to the House. I was there. We were supposed to vote on it on a Wednesday or Thursday. It was a Wednesday. That we waited for 2.5 hours on the floor, and I said, wow, they must not have the votes. This is great. I know, I was excited. And then I was like, oh, they don't have the votes. They don't have the votes. I don't know what happened overnight. You've probably seen on the news, I'm sure people got called into the principal's office, the fascist office. And I can tell you what happened, I think, is people change their minds. Because I'll tell you, people were getting quoted publicly. I didn't vote for that. No way. Heck no. And then all of a sudden they pulled it up that following Thursday. And I was like, Thursday. But it only got passed from 214 to 216. 2 vote difference. We're almost there, y'all. We're almost there. And if we can, again, this is a person, your member of Congress wants to run for governor. This is Medicaid, again, is impacting Michigan folks from all over. And so I reiterate to you all, if there's something we can do, we have control over, is to organize, and the Macomb County, all of you in the 10th Congressional District can deliver 1 Republican. You are getting closer in saving our country. So know you can join organizations and take direct action. These are some of the 3. I know there's some tabling out there. Get active, join them. One of the things you should know, last night, every single one of my residents left. We had 200 packets of postcards that had specific data from Macomb County residents that impacted by Medicaid. So I said, let's do neighbor-to-neighbor cards. So you might get a card from one of my constituents who's going to send you a card saying, please call John James' office because my congresswoman is voting no. Yours continues. Again, there it is right there. Continues. This postcard is coming through. We're targeting specifically and reaching out specifically to residents that may not know that Congressman James, and we have some that still don't know, that he is voting not once, twice, he voted now 3 times to cut Medicaid. So again, this is very, very important that we do that. These are some of the other organizations. Again, some of them are out here. supporting. These are ways that you can get involved, reach out and figure out ways, again, how you can get connected. What I find is when you all do it as a collective, it's like a bullhorn. It's so much louder, so much more effective and powerful. I want you to talk to 3 people. I learned, look, I'm the eldest of 14. We got to have somewhat of a voting block in my community, in my family. But I'm the one. I do the slates. I'm the one who says, hey, yo, this is what's happening. Okay, what do you want me to do, Rashida? But you know of 3 people. You know if you call them. Not me, you. You know they'll do it. You know someone in the 10th Congressional District that if you just kind of push them, here's the number, call. Show up. Again, this is about saving our country and pushing back against fascism and cruelty and lawlessness. And I know that people are waiting to be asked sometimes. They want to help, but you can give them a pathway. I watch this, and my team knows this. I would say, well, bring somebody with you. And they come, and they get addicted. They want to come over and over again. How many of you experienced that? I did. They'll come over and over again, and it's great because they feel like they are making a huge difference. So you can do that. Can I think? Yep, there he is. Okay, before I go, I can tell you this is my, the various town halls. We do community conversations throughout the 12th Congressional District. I've never had this many residents get up in tears, full of so much fear and anxiety. I feel it too. I just want you to know, don't let them paralyze you. I know there's going to be moments that you need to rest, but also bring joy into it, Put music into it, joy, march, make it, because joy is resistance too. Yes. Yeah. And so make sure that you're taking care of yourself. It is. I love that you guys are having so much fun with the signs. They're hilarious. I mean, even though your dogs have signs. So this is amazing, but this is the way to do it. But also take care of yourself. Show up for each other, but take care of each other. But also don't let them paralyze us. That's exactly what they want us to do. They want us to be paralyzed, fear, don't move, don't do anything. And remember this. You guys know, I come from an incredibly, very beautiful, 12th Congressional District. I grew up in Wayne County. And sometimes I find that, Black Pastor told me this. I find that sometimes we're disconnected. And they built these institutions of disconnected. Our country is not divided. We are disconnected, right? We're not divided. We're disconnected. Connect with each other. Again, I can tell you, every single one of you have stories you can share with other mothers, other folks that are taking care of their loved ones, seasoned residents. All of us have these stories that are impactful. That's how we connect with each other, because the division that they're trying to create by targeting certain people and so forth, know it's a slippery slope. We're always understanding, I do, that when somebody's due process their constitutional rights, when somebody's care is cut, they always end up coming to our backyard. It never changes. Look at our history. It always ends up in our backyard. I say this about auto insurance, don't get me started, where everybody thought that's not our issue. Well, guess what? Now 90% of zip codes in the state of Michigan have unaffordable auto insurance, right? So don't let them expand and grow in this. You have to fight back together and show up together. I will leave you with this. Community mothers taught me this. I remember feeling, moments of, because I grew up in a very, very polluted community. I always thought, wow, Marathon and USC, everybody's going to continue to pollute our community. It always smelled like rotten eggs growing up. I just thought, this is awful. I grew up 4 blocks north of Delray neighborhood. Yeah. And community mothers remind me that we don't get transformative change because of who's in the White House or who's in Congress. We didn't get the Civil Rights Act because the President of the United States woke up one day and said, wow, that's a really good idea. Or we didn't get the right to organize unions because somebody in Congress said, let me introduce this bill, it's a great idea. It's when people organize in the streets and they demanded that change. You all have that power to move an institution like Congress that is broken. I'm there. I have a front row seat to it. People have access to them that will never ever, we constantly are trying to compete with it, right? Look how many of them take corporate PAC money. They take money from the same people that are hurting their constituents. They are choosing the billionaire class, giving those tax breaks, making us believe that it's about jobs, when at the end, it isn't. It's about greed. corporate greed. You all have the power to move this institution and move your member of Congress. And again, it inspires me to see this room full. This is how we, again, fight against this fascist regime that is there. And again, these are many people in my community who have really thought, God, I didn't know it was going to be this bad. I don't shame or blame. I said, you ready to join us in this fight? And they will join us. Thank you all so much. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, and thank you, Representative Rashida Tlaib. So we will be doing Q&A in a bit, but before that, we do have some stories from the community that we want to share. We have a member of the 10th Congressional District with us today, Taylor, who's going to share us our story about how this impacts her life directly. Taylor!
Oh, good. You okay? Hi. Can I talk?
Hi, everyone. Oh, come on, Brett. Go sit with Christina. Go get Christina.
Oh,
Hi, everyone. Sorry. Hi, my name is Taylor Johnson. That was my son, George. We're going to be talking a lot about him. Don't worry. You'll hear a lot about him today. I am a lifelong resident of Warren. I currently live here with my husband and our 2 children. One you just saw is gracing us with his presence tonight. His name is George. George is 6 years old, and George has Down syndrome, and George has Medicaid for the rest of his life. So we adopted George when he was 3 weeks old, and we pursued, thank you. And we actually pursued Down syndrome adoption. My son George has Down syndrome, and we wanted a child with Down syndrome in our family. We wanted that because my family feels really lucky that we have access to the resources in the community and the support that children with disabilities need. But I'll tell you, as we were starting the process of adopting a child with Down syndrome, the one question I kept asking everybody was, is there any threat to Medicaid? Because how can the parents of a disabled child safely raise a disabled child without that service? Now, like I said, George gets Medicaid for the rest of his life, and we are very, very lucky because George is a very healthy 6-year-old with Down syndrome. He does not have any major medical concerns, but he still needs a lot of support. George needs access to therapies that school doesn't provide. George has tons of specialist appointments. George sees doctors. He wears glasses. He wears braces on his ankles. He's had ambulance rides. He's had medical visits, and our family has not seen a bill or a copay for any of that. And to be honest, my family could not afford that. This is a necessary service, and this is what Medicaid does. Medicaid protects the vulnerable people in our country, the disabled, the children, and it gives them this necessary care. Medicaid is not a luxury. Medicaid is not excessive. Medicaid is a necessary thing for our country, and my family is terrified of losing it. We all remember a few months ago when the portal went down for that terrifying little bit. My son retroactively got a service denied in that tiny window of time, which really went to show just how fragile this service is and yet how important it actually is. Now, my husband and I both work. We both primarily work in gig work, so we purchase health insurance from the marketplace for us and for our 3-year-old daughter. Now, that is not an option for our son, George. I'm sure you all know a lot of these reasons, mostly because that's right. And my daughter, Vera, thank you for reminding us, CC, yes. Most plans would not accept George because of his pre-existing conditions. That is number one. And the other thing is that it is just completely unaffordable to add a disabled child to a health care plan. So when Republicans, namely the one who is not here tonight, talk about Medicaid, what they often refer to it is as trimming the fat, and that is just simply not true. What they are doing is cutting into the heart of this program. What they are doing is cutting into the reality of my son living a healthy and normal American childhood. And for that, we can't have that. So let me be clear. George is an American citizen, and he's a disabled American. So when we are talking about Medicaid, we are not talking about dollars. We are not talking about figures. We are talking about human lives.
And we are talking about who is going to stand up for this vulnerable community and ensure that they do get access to these things that they need to survive. So I'm going to be very honest, the disability community is very scared right now. We are very, very scared. Our community in general is scared. My family is scared. I'm very scared, right? We saw how easy it was. You heard the Congresswoman talk about how families would go under if Medicaid went away. You're looking at one of the families right now. So I want us to know that cuts to Medicaid, let's be very clear, let's not mince words. Hello, my love. Oh, he's done with his supper, everybody. Let's be very clear. Sorry, and everybody, if you're looking for somebody to vote for in John James' seat, the answer is Christina Hines, just so you all know. Christina Hines in Congress. We love her. She's our neighbor. She's Antikina. We love her. So I just want you all to know this, and I am really disappointed that our Republican lawmakers are not here to hear this, to know the reality is that without Medicaid, families will suffer. There's a lot of discourse in the news right now about disability destroying families. Have you heard that a lot? It's awful. The reality, so much shame. And the reality is what actually destroys family is cutting resources. What actually destroys families is making it so that families like mine can't.
Bread, milk, eggs, cheese, lunch meat, frozen meat to all of our clients. And the Trump administration cut $4.3 million worth of food funding to cleaners and other food banks in Metro Detroit. And I don't really have a question more. I just want John James to know, because he came and visited me at my pantry. He met my volunteers, and he promised that he would protect our people. And he promised he would protect the most vulnerable, and he did not stick up to his word. And I want to hold him accountable and make him do his job. So I guess if I had any question, it would be, what can we do to make sure that our seniors, because a lot of them that call me say, I have to choose between my medication and my food. And what are we doing to make sure that we protect that and our food resources and the farmers and everything else we're trying to do to protect vets and seniors?
As a member of Congress, I can tell you what would really get under my skin. If you are in front of your food pantry and you do a video and you tag him, and you ask all of us to reshare it, I'm saying, you came here. You looked in our eyes, you saw how hard we work to feed folks. There's nothing so special about feeding people that are hungry. So thank you for that, but you should say that. I feel like you broke a promise that you made. You came here, you saw what the work that we did, and you're still allowing the cuts to happen.
Everyone here, especially included, please get involved with Macomb Defenders Rising. I also have a couple of other indivisible groups in the area, and we will get you connected to what we are doing, and we will help you share that story. Thank you.
I appreciate, Ms. Tlaib, you coming to our district. I know you don't represent us, but it's well appreciated.
She represents all of us.
Yes, she does. I voted for her.
That may or may not pass, but there is a problem that exists today. It is abuse of power. The president is using emergency powers to rename the Gulf of Mexico, to make Canada a 51st state, to deport people without due process. It's all being done with emergency powers. The Senate has already passed a bill and moved it to the House. What are you, can you please speak to what is being done by you and others to take away these emergency powers from the president?
I can tell you, I want folks to know this. You may see the name Mahmoud Khalil Garcia, and you may say, the due process and constitutional rights that they depend on are our rights. So when they chip, and they are, when they chip at that due process, they're starting there. Just that's how it always happens. They start there. But know that we are fighting. Of course, many organizations are on the front lines. I think there's been over 200 cases filed, 93% winning. I know folks are like, oh, but litigation is resistance, and it's pushing them back and slowing them down as much as possible. But this is fascism, right? This is exactly what they do. So we have to resist at every front and every tool. over 200 plus, or 264 plus bills. We have protect our education bills, ones that restore due process and so forth. All you know is that, I want you all to know though, don't assume because there's a D next to the name that they're fighting. And I'm one of those people, I'll be honest with you. So for instance, the SAVE Act. Yes. Yeah. SAVE Act is voter suppression. End of story. No, it is. I mean, it's millions of people that if they got married, they didn't change their name. It's going to make it harder for Americans to vote. It's hands down. That's exactly what it's about. In that moment, I was watching. I thought, oh, for sure, 4 Democrats joined them.
Oh yeah, I can believe that.
And even if you all remember the moment, even with the continuing resolution that cut I was like over 28 point something millions of dollars for PACT Act for veterans care that have been exposed to Agent Orange and other toxins. Again, we could have pushed back more in the Senate, and that's why myself and 65 other members of the House sent a letter to Schumer asking him to fight back. So keep pushing us. Keep pushing back. I mean, I'm a person that really believes that resistance has to come into all fronts, but also engaging your residents. Many of my colleagues, I tell them, well, they're all upset. They're upset because they want us to fight harder and to fight more aggressively, and don't bow down. What we're seeing with immigration, due process, and so forth, is they're following polling instead of doing what is right.
Be brave.
Be brave, be courageous, and fight back. Know that, again, I'm so proud of the ACLU who is fighting on the forefront and reverse engineering. I am so incredibly proud of them. NAACP, they're in court right now to push back against cutting the Department of Education. You can see it. Protect Our Care is out there shaming and really educating, pushing in districts and showing people that this is a person in your community that is voting to cut Medicaid. All of that is how we resist and push back. And I wish, I'm one of those folks that I feel like if there was something snappy, I could, boom, get them to stop. Because I'm a mom. I want to fix it now, and I want to move with urgency because people are getting hurt now. I already see it. Some people that are in domestic violence survivors, they're on their 3rd year of funding in one of my organizations, didn't get their 3rd year funding, which means in July they may have to push out women with children that won't get transition housing. I mean, these are the things that, again, will continue to happen if we don't resist together. But please check them all. Don't assume because there's a D next to the name that they'll do it. I can tell you one of the most aggressive things I've been able to do in the Mama's Caucus from the Head Start program to using the power of the letter and the power to convene is to use every tool, organize, push back. It's not just showing up at the marches, but giving people things to do. Nobody left my town hall until they had homework, and I said, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to deliver at least one member from the Michigan delegation to make sure that we at least protect Medicaid, which is a survival for so many. But please know, I feel you, I can see it. As a former immigration attorney, and George, you should know this, I can tell you that the system is so inhumane. It was before. It's so broken. People profit off of that brokenness, and we know that. If it was really about that, then they would go towards the people, we know this, that are the ones benefiting the most out of it. And that's sometimes the employers and others that, again, they want folks to stay in the shadows. They want folks to have the mixed status. They don't want people to come out of the shadows. They don't want to fix this broken system. Just like healthcare being broken, because they make more money the more sick we get. And again, we have to call those structures out as much as possible. But thank you for that question. And again, all of those constitutional rights and all those due processes are ours. They're chipping away at our rights.
That's right.
Thank you for being here. As a healthcare regulatory specialist, it's my job to look at regulation. And I've been really surprised what's been going on in the Federal Register. They are requesting closed meetings, they're reversing regulation, but there's one specific thing I saw yesterday that put me on edge. They have been doing public land orders. They did it in California, they did it in Arizona, and this one I read was for Mexico. And they grabbed 106,000 1,000 acres and gave the administration of those public lands to the Army in order to protect the United States from immigrants. And when I read that, I thought, 106,000 acres? Now, Michigan is a border state. Do you see the same thing happening in Michigan?
So I haven't seen a move of that, but I want you all to know there's current law right now that allows them to do checkpoints within 100 miles of a port. And we've seen that again in Southwest Detroit where I grew up. I would see like checkpoints on Michigan Avenue and so forth, and people getting pulled aside. It was so harmful. I remember one of my residents, she was a legal permanent resident, and she was, you know, she just goes running around Clark Park, you know, this park in the neighborhood, and she got stopped and they said, "Are you legally here?" And she was like, "Well, she doesn't carry around her green card." I mean, that's the kind of militarization and policing that's going to happen in that regard. And so I haven't seen it, but know that there's already an increase presence that many of the residents in previous administrations as well of folks like, for instance, field operators, we call them the folks in the blue uniforms. They're supposed to be at the port, right? They're going to prevent drugs from coming in, even human trafficking, right, to prevent all of that. And they, I hear great stories of the successes of that, but some of them are actually leaving that spot and going around and patrolling. Also knowing the difference, we do Know Your Rights. You'll see the ICE agents, for instance, unmarked cars. I know for a fact that one of my former neighbors was just leaving and they pulled up and behind him, again, no warrant, nothing, and stopped him. Again, that kind of form of policing and militarization that, maybe more folks see on the southern border, that's already been happening on the northern border. Many of you just don't see it. And it's incredibly harmful to know, again, that form of policing, if anything, doesn't keep us safe. I know for a fact that right now somebody that is a domestic violence survivor is being pulled aside. She's petrified of going to the police right now because she's being told that, because there was one story from a different state where the person that came in to report a domestic violence issue, incident, they pretty much handed her over to ICE. So we have to be really careful in regards of doing that. And just know, again, as an immigration attorney, I've seen so many U.S. citizens married to undocumented immigrants or others. They cannot, legalize themselves and go through the process because the way the laws are written, they prevent it from happening. And again, it keeps them in that cycle of the broken system.
Hello. First off, thank you so much, Congresswoman, for being here. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. I'm not good at public speaking.
No, this is your family. We
So I've been fighting for disability for a long time now. I'm getting back surgery at the end of this week, and I've gone to the most recent event and this one now, and many others. And I'm going to be unhoused soon after my surgery. So I'm currently a resident of Clinton Township, but I don't know how much longer that's going to be. I have exhausted all resources, and they keep attacking us. First RFK with his ridiculous uneducated comments about autism, and now supposedly Dr. Oz, doctor, going after chronic illness individuals saying, "We chose this." Trust me, I did not choose this. I didn't choose fibromyalgia. I did not choose to have too many back injuries in my life just from working multiple jobs since I was 16 and getting hit by a drunk driver at 18. This was not my choice.
Oh my God.
And I just want to say, as somebody in the system, I'm hearing from my own caseworker in DHS, that they are preparing for cuts. They are preparing for closures. Disability lawyers are fleeing that industry, that field. I had called 5 this time to find somebody to take my case. Nobody would take it. It's scary out there for us. We need to shut down this rhetoric, because once they come for one of us, they come for all of us. And that's not okay. watching this rhetoric as much as you can on that floor. Don't let them continue with these lies about us. This is not a choice. And we aren't drains on society. If I could go back to working 4 jobs again, I would. If I could go back to being a professional dog trainer again, I would. I wanted my career. I loved working with dogs. This isn't what I asked for in life. This was not my plan.
I mean, all of us heard the pain. I can tell you, my son who's autistic, he heard RFK. But you know what I told, he goes, thanks, Mom. And I was like, for what? He goes, I saw your tweet. And I was like, that's so, you know, because I hardly ever use that platform anymore unless I'm really angry. And I said, you know, because he said they're never going to be able to write a poem. Well, my child wrote a children's book with me. And he's on his 3rd book. And he's an exceptional, wonderful person. But I think what you heard from her is the fact that they're ripping people's human dignity and their right to exist as they are. And so, again, I think uplift her as much as possible. But again, I hear her. It's very painful to hear this kind of rhetoric, really, about any of our communities, but especially our disabled neighbors. I mean, they have already been struggling, and they shouldn't feel like they're asking for a handout. This is not something that they, again, planned, and we need to support them.
Hello, my name is Maya. I'm from Southfield Township, where I represented. This morning, I put on my Flint Registry t-shirt, and this afternoon, on the car ride over here, I got an email from my supervisor that nearly the entire CDC-led department was cut, and the future of the Flint Registry, which serves 22,000 individuals, is in limbo. For those of you who don't know, the Flint water crisis happened when an undemocratically appointed state emergency manager tried to cut costs by switching the water source for the Flint residents, which led to that cost cutting led to deaths of dozens and the poisoning of thousands of children with the most potent neurotoxin of lead. And unfortunately, we're seeing the same thing on the federal scale, where a non-democratically elected appointee, Elon Musk, is cost-cutting, and it's poisoning our children, and it's killing our Americans. And so my question for you is, how do we rebuild to be the party of health and to be the party that protects children when the other side claims to be the party to make America healthy again?
I mean, I think we want to be a country, not a party, but a country that supports these measures. I don't think people realize. When we had a congressional hearing my first term in my district, and I invited Flint residents to come, and you know, they didn't ask for clean water because they asked for Medicaid expansion because they're already sick. It was like almost a job, we all looked and we were like, she's like, we're already sick, y'all, let us get sick. It's already in our DNA. Our children are sick, we're already sick. We just need access to health care, we need it covered. And, even in that moment, because, you hear them always say, Flint still doesn't have clean drinking water, and that's a fact, and that's true. But it's also the fact that we haven't actually truly addressed the fact of what happened to the people there. Many people died and are still, again, impacted by, I heard miscarriages are increasing, all this stuff, and that's the DNA within the, lead is passed down to children. All of that, again, is continuing to happen. But we need to become a country that recognizes these injustices and understand how incredibly unfair that was and address it with the urgency that is needed. Right now, I find that many of my colleagues wait until it's on the front page of the newspaper or some news station is doing it. And it's really incredible to see that's the only time they will react and say, oh, we should do something about this. Where have you been? There are schools with no clean drinking water. They have garbage bags over their water. There's again this lack of moving with urgency. I can tell you most of what is being done right now
is going around Congress is illegal. It's lawlessness, true and true. That's why all the cases they're losing. That's why they're talking about defunding judiciary systems. Because, again, they're losing in court because they are, again, going around, which is crazy because they have a trifecta, right? I don't say Elon Musk, I say Trump.
Yes.
Okay, I say that because it's both of them. Go ahead and, we like taking jabs at him. But Trump is allowing this to happen. This is Project 2025 on steroids, moving as quickly as possible. And we need to recognize it for what it is. We're on the 13th week, y'all. This is exactly what this is. And they're moving as quickly as possible. Don't let them exhaust you though. Don't let them make you stop. Speak your truth about what is happening, what that's gonna mean for Flint. And keep, again, a lot of folks can't keep up with everything, but that's why we gotta continue to post those stories, to talk about it, and call out specific people that have the power to switch their votes and push back. This whole sheep thing, we're just gonna follow what he does. It's not, it's what's going to destroy our country if they don't have the courage to stand up to him and say, nah, dude, not this time. This impacts my constituency and I can't do it.
Hello, thank you all for being here. My name is Alexandria. I'm from St. Clair Shores. I'm a doctor of neuroscience studying substance use and trauma in Detroit. And I want to talk a little bit about what education did for me. I came from a red household. Education taught me empathy. It changed my political views because it changed my morals. And I want to acknowledge that although we're here to chastise our Republican representative who is hiding from all of us, and I think many of us have a first instinct to make this a partisan issue, education taught me that my household was red because the Democratic Party failed them, like it failed so many people. And even just in the last several months, I've been very disappointed with my Democratic senators for how they've supported these movements, how they failed to stand up. And I so appreciated what Fair Share said earlier, that this is not a partisan issue. I hope that we have red and blue people in this crowd right now.
Yes, you do.
So my question for any of you all is, how do we capitalize on this moment and turn it from pointing our anger at just one party to pointing it at a system that is benefiting greedy politicians on both sides and on our side?
First of all, thank you. And we heard the Congresswoman say we have to hold Democrats accountable just as aggressively as we hold Republicans. We are fighting for the soul of this country, not a party, for the soul of this country, for our own shared humanity. And the reason that I do organizing, and I'm obsessed with organizing, is because it is the one way to start connecting one-to-one with people, to break down barriers without judgment, without shame. There are lots of people who voted for Donald Trump just a mere few months ago who are now living with terrible consequences. It is not helpful if leaders, and when I say leaders, I mean all of you who are showing up. You are leaders in this movement by being here. We cannot shame, yell, disparage folks who made a choice based on lies or information they believed. We have to be the truth tellers.
Buyer's remorse.
And there is some of that, but also it doesn't make me feel good to put down someone. Well, I hope you have buyer's remorse. No, they're scared too. I live in, my family has the rainbow political spectrum. We are all on Easter 2 days ago, everyone for the first hour, regardless of where they sat on the partisan spectrum, were terrified for the future of this country. We're terrified for what's at stake. And so my ask, and I think this is what Fair Share hears all across the country, is that 80% of us, the majority of us, want to live with dignity, respect. We want to live within the law and the Constitution. We want leaders to represent us. We want the government to spend our tax dollars on the things that matter. And all of us have a role and responsibility to get beyond the cheap, easy blame game of what the politics has created. The system, the political system that we're in too sucks too. So we have a responsibility to get beyond that if we want to take care of people, if we want hope, and if we actually believe that in every person deserves dignity and respect. It is not easy. It is not easy, but it is a practice I think we all need to lean real hard into right now. And we need to hold them all accountable.
We're just going to make a quick announcement about time, which is that we have only 5 minutes until we have to end the event, and we know there are a lot of people in line. So I think we can take 2 more questions. And for the folks still in line, we'd love to be able to, if you still want to get your question or story shared or answered, we want to make sure we get that down and that someone from the stage follows up with you.
But I just want folks to know what brings my community together, because I know people think I have Garden City, I have pneumonia, I have even Dearborn. It's very diverse politically. What really brings them together is they're angry with the billionaires. No, because they are now really corrupting our political system. I mean, from big pharma to how I have a bill that says to my colleagues, they own war manufacturing, defense, like they own stocks in war manufacturing. So every time they go for the defense budget that doesn't pass an audit, they actually benefit personally. No member of Congress should own stock. Right. But sure the hell they shouldn't be benefiting off of war. So I just say this because there are Democrats and Republicans that benefit off of this system being rigged against us. It is clear as day to me when over 50% of my colleagues are millionaires. You look at that, many of them own stock in the same corporations and folks that they give the big handouts to, or the Pentagon budget that is literally, I mean, that's not even where my folks, veterans, get even any of their services. It is all the efficiency waste you want to talk about. Start there. 7 audits in a row didn't pass. So I just say this because you're absolutely right. But one of the things that does bring our country together, they know that some people are all profit driven. They don't care. They just want to extract from our community, take from our community, and they just want to make money off of our pain. And so again, I think that's the way we can bring folks together. But I am one of those, that's why sometimes they don't like me coming to caucus, because I do remind them to put the mirror up and say, we're also a problem too. We're allowing this to happen.
Hi, Rashida and all you other beautiful women up there. You guys are my sheroes, and we are so grateful for you. My name's Barney, and I'm from St. Clair Shores too. And Rashida, I lost my filter 8 years ago, so sorry, can't help it. Fascist tumor is running for governor of Michigan, and of course, my seatmate, my neighbor, reminded me that the blanker in the White House is funding him to the tune of who knows how many tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. Now I know that you probably, you might not even have the roughest idea of what, what his potential campaign looks like, but do you have even the roughest idea of what you think his chances are? Not like you've had time to think about this.
Well, I make it clear, and I hope Congressman John James hears me. You cut Medicaid, you're not going to be the next governor. Michigan families across the state are telling you not to cut Medicaid. You do it. You're losing. Don't even bother launching your campaign. They're going to lose.
And on that note, I just want everyone in the 10th district to know we have 2 amazing candidates running for that seat, Christina Hines and Alex Hawkins.
Hello, my name is Kevin Adelman. I live in Fraser. I like to take a little bit of credit for John James not running for re-election, so I call him twice a day. I don't know if I actually did it. Anyway, So the reason that I'm up here, and I have a very interesting question. I was having a discussion with a friend of mine after the 9-0 Supreme Court vote to bring Garcia back from El Salvador. And I'm curious, with your background being a lawyer, I'm no constitutional scholar, but wouldn't Congress have the enforcement mechanism since Trump said he's not going to follow the rules?
Absolutely, they do. And I can tell you, yeah, that's right. It's called impeachment. You know, I talked to third graders, and they, you know, it's interesting in the terms of it all started because my youngest son would ask Adam, who's super intelligent, beautiful, just this beautiful child. So he always goes, you know, who's mom's boss? You know, is the president mom's boss? I said, no, I get to give the president a timeout. It's called impeachment. And so I tell that to third graders. But absolutely, this, I can tell you, has now crossed over where my colleagues, no matter where, they're being asked, what are you going to do about that? Bring Garcia back. You got union leadership saying, bring Garcia back. The Iowa senator is being asked, bring Garcia back. What's going on? Keep that pressure on, but absolutely, we can enforce. It's a constitutional crisis. Yes. This is what it is. They don't want to say, you know, Congressman Jamie Raskin is one of the, you know, mentors of mine. I love him dearly. He's a constitutional, you know, law professor. And he's always like, this is unprecedented times. Absolutely, Jamie. But at this moment, we need to do more in regards. So you're going to see people, this is our week. We're going to be going back in session next week. You're going to see many of us already in discussions of how we can push back and hold them accountable. Again, 9-0. Bring Garcia back. Because I tell you, if we don't get it done, who's going to be next? Who's going to be sent over there? And again, we got to resist now, no matter what their name is, no matter what it is, we got to follow the law, and that means following the Supreme Court decision.
I know I said 2, we have only 4 people left, and 2 are vets, and we've got a lot of questions also about senior citizens, veteran services, etc. We're going to try to do some rapid fire questions, and then we will finish.
Are we going to ask all 4 at once, and then?
Do we want to do that? Were folks okay if we do that? If we go down the line, each ask a question, then okay, we get them all.
All right, so one thing on my mind is the recent tragedy in Florida, and also I'm an honorary, my name's Richard, I'm also from Fraser, and I was thinking just a few days ago there was an incident of teens getting injured by violence just north of Mount Clemens, which is still considered Clinton Township, and I just wonder really what's being done to address in this community, especially with many of the cases happening in Warren, as I happen to be an honorary member of the Moms Demand Action chapter in Macomb. And they just all had their lobbying day in Lansing, so that was today.
Thank you so much. We're going down the line here.
Hi, my name is Kim. I live in Shelby Township. I'm a VA employee at the regional office here in Detroit. I've kind of felt the need to come up here and say a little something on behalf of federal employees. I just want you to know that you know, we're under attack as well. We are receiving emails from Elon Musk or whoever, Doge, at 2 o'clock in the morning. The VA, I work at the VA. We're out here every day working for our veterans, and you know, we're all just trying to do our job and do what's right for the people and right for our veterans. And everyone comes up here and talks about how they're all working for the veterans, but you know, they're trying to lay off 83,000 of us.
Oh my God.
I don't know from where. You know, the last 3 months they've been talking, they're going to lay us off. We don't know who. Can you imagine being under the gun and saying, oh, well, we don't know if you're going to have a job tomorrow, and then continue to do your job on a daily basis? There's so many of us that are upset and crying, and I'm having to talk to my fellow coworkers about different things that they're having to deal with. So I'm just asking you guys to don't forget about us federal employees, because we're here for you.
Hi, I'm Mary Ellen, and I'm from Warren, Michigan. And quickly, I I want to thank Rashida. Did I say your name right? Yeah. My brother's name is Rashid, so I'm Rashida. I want to thank you and Alexandria Cortez for not taking any money from big corporations corrupted our country. And I just want to say briefly to encourage people here, my head was in the sand. I was quote unquote pro-life, and I voted for Trump in 2016. It's the biggest regret of my life.
We forgive you.
After that, I educated myself. I call myself an independent, but I respect people being kind to one another across party lines and learning how to work together to solve our problems. So. Late husband for 20 years. He was he became a quad from MS, and I cared for him at home, and I hired home health care. So I understand chronic illness from a caregiver's perspective. So I'm concerned about the elderly, and I visit elderly from our church. So can you tell us how many, I read somewhere that 3/4 of elderly people that are in nursing homes are on Medicaid. So how is that going to impact Macomb County area? I know you said 180,000 something, and I didn't catch it all. But could you talk just a little bit about the seniors who are in nursing homes?
All right, last but not least.
Hi, ladies. I'm an 8-year veteran, Navy vet, and as far as the VA, the question I would have is that I have other vets that go to Ann Arbor because they don't want to go to Detroit. And I know that their residents are various, Wayne State, Detroit Receiving, things like that. We're all out in VA, they're all U of M students mostly. But the first question I have is, again, is there a way to I'm not saying that they didn't do right by us or anything like that, but correct the things that are being wrong. I've had several procedures. Some have been great, 3 plates in my neck. I've had botched procedures internal, and I've made advocacy reports, and now the urology department is totally changed. I can't say I did it, but enough of us who probably had the same botched procedure all got behind it and everything like that. So in that respect, like you said, I'm trying to, is there a way to fix what was already wrong as well as what's currently being done? And then the second question is, do you know the difference between a zombie and a cult? You can shoot a zombie.
I don't know where Kim went, our VA federal worker, so going back, so I just want you to know, John Dingle VA Hospital had an Inspector General report. It did actually change a lot of the leadership and move. However, one of the things that came out of the report and continues to come out of the report is how understaffed our VA hospitals are across the nation. And so cutting, it's very true. That's why there's long waits. That's why they can't get in for procedures and in the mental health care as well. In regards to our federal workforce, I'll tell you a story. So a woman came up to me and she's like, I showed up to work like a normal day. One of the things I didn't realize, and I really had no idea how vulnerable, how like the pandemic kind of exposed some of the broken systems and where there was vulnerabilities. I realized with this fascist regime how vulnerable our federal workforce was. I didn't know some of them were on 3-year probationary period, 2 years, 1 year. And again, many of them negotiated down from 3 to 2 and then some to 1. But also, when they switch jobs, as soon as they move or, from one position to the other, the probationary period gets triggered again. It's this bizarre. So, we introduced the Merit Act. I don't want to get into details to really try to fix some of those issues. But this woman who worked for the VA for 20 years, she got older, and she's like, you know what, I'm going to switch and go and be a shuttle driver, the transportation person. She shows up to work, and she's like, I just went to work like any time, and I scanned my card. It didn't work, her staff card. And she's like, what's going on? And she realized everybody's looking at each other. she was let go. Everything got disabled. And do you know what she said to me? She goes, but I had this, Rashida, I had this whole line of people waiting, like nobody was gonna take them. I was like, who's gonna take, the veterans were waiting for her to get behind the wheel so she can take them between the various clinics and so forth. And she was more worried about the veterans than even about herself. But because she switched, her probationary period got triggered. Now, you know the lawsuits are saying gotta bring them back. You've seen all that, right? But guess what? Some of our federal workers are saying, nah, I'm good, peace out, I'm done. Because of the instability, also the recklessness, the coolness. I have a friend who's like, Rashida, I have to submit those 5 points every week on Monday. I have to change a couple words, it's crazy. I know for a fact today, she won't tell you, that they sent this weird email about something about religion and being anti-Christian. Yes. And that's just today. I mean, we're a secular country all for a reason. And so I just want you all to know this is what our federal workforce is doing, but also understand when they cut that, they're cutting our programs. When they cut federal workforce, because it's hard for me to hear, colleagues in the Michigan delegation say, well, they're making no, they're not making those 6 figures. I mean, it's ridiculous. And no one actually works for the government to become rich other than defense contractors and all these other people that, again, are really on the private sector that are getting all these contracts. So, again, I really appreciate what she said, and I just want to kind of lean into that and understand, again, the importance of it. But the vulnerability of our federal workforce, we really got to harden that. We got to make it much more difficult for them to do the abuse that they're and create the toxicity in these work environments for them.
Okay, so I have my co-chair of Macomb Defenders Rising. Give it up for Kelly.
Hello everyone, my name is Kelly. I'm one of the co-leads of Macomb Defenders Rising along with Katrina. Thank you all for coming tonight. This is amazing. It's really great to see so many folks, even not just from District 10, but from other areas of Michigan here in support of what we're trying to do and to try to hold this guy accountable. So I'd like to, if you would please, let's have another round of applause for Representative Tlaib. Rashida, we're so grateful for taking the time to come out and speaking to us. Especially when our congressman is he here? Did he come? No. I also want to say thank you to Friends of Bernie Sanders for helping facilitate that remote call-in. How awesome is that? They also helped us plan this event and staffed it. Thank you to the Center for American Progress for lining up the impactful storytellers, one of which Rashida shared and the other was shared in person. If anyone in the crowd has a story of their own, please find the Macomb Defenders Rising table out in the lobby area, and we'll take down your information and we'll get that shared. A big thank you to Representative Tlaib's team, Fund My Future, Families for Fair Care, and the volunteers from Macomb Defenders Rising for help plan and staff this event. I know it's getting late and we have to get out of here, but I do want to keep this energy going because I want you all to leave here and I want you to find the next action and the next action and the next action. I want you to keep showing up because the people in this room are what makes the change. So I want you to do a chant with me, one last chant to keep the energy going, all right? So say it with me here. Tax the rich, fund our schools, we deserve better. Thank you guys for showing up. Please, again, find the tables in the back if you want more information about any of our
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Yes.